What's up everyone? Today I'm going to be going over charcoal tips and tricks and how you can get better and improve your artwork with these simple tricks, and let's get into it. So what I usually do is I start out with a rough sketch. I go in, lightly sketch out every line. You want to keep your sketch really light because it's not so bad with charcoal, but if you're doing like colored pencil or marker or anything, you can see the sketch lines underneath it. So go in, make it really light, and then if you have to, if it's too dark, you can erase the lines, which I don't have to right here, but that's just a general rule of thumb that you don't want to see your outlines underneath it. I'll come back in a second once I start shading and everything. If you know the outline is going to be dark, go ahead and make it as dark as you want. You see me go in, do the iris all black and the pupil and the top of the eyelid because the reference photo is really black. So I go in, use a graphite pencil for the grays and smear it all up and blend it. You don't want to do something too dark because with charcoal you can't really erase. But you see me going in with the blending stump that already has charcoal on it. So if you want to use the grays for the eyes and stuff, then you can use that blending stump to get all of that good grays and contrast and everything, adding all those details on the iris and stuff, and then I keep just switching back and forth, making it as dark as I want. With the iris, it's kind of difficult because there's a bunch of like highlights that you don't really see, and if you really want the realistic look that you're going for, you might want to go back in and add details and details just until you get what you want. So you can see I went in and made it super black on top because the reference I was using, the eyebrow is really shaded out and you can't really tell. So I go in and make it super black, and everywhere there's a shade I do. Like I said before, since the blending step already had graphite and charcoal on it, you can make the grays. You can basically just draw with the stump. So I go in with all the lines that I have, all the reference lines, and I just shade out where all the grays are. And then sooner or later I'll go back in and make it as dark as I want where it's darker and it's not as light. So you can see me working on, I keep going back and adding all the details and shading. So general rule of thumb of art, you can see me like skipping around and going to place because if you spend a lot of time in one place, you're not going to stop until it's perfect. And in art, you want to get everything kind of like shaded out and stuff before you go in and add all the details, because I'm a perfectionist and I would literally spend 20 minutes on one part of the eye without having anything else done. So I usually go back in, then add the details. So you can see me jumping around from spot to spot, going back in, adding all the shading, and wherever there's a dark spot I'll add, and then later on I'll go back and with the white charcoal and you'll see me add all the highlights of where it's at. Okay, so here you can see me adding all the highlights in the eyes and the skin tones with the white charcoal, adding all the eyelashes and all the tear ducts and the whites under the eyes. This is a really good idea to use white charcoal if you're using just regular charcoal because it's super dark and gray. So if you go in with the white charcoal, you can really blend out all the grays and all the highlights that you want. So people will probably ask why I tape my pencil like this. So I recently just realized that if you do, it gives you a way better grip on your pencil. So what you do is just find out where you hold your pencil and then you tape it as big as you want, because everybody's hand is different. You like everybody's size of the hand, so you find out where your hand goes and where your fingers lay, and then you make that part skinny where your fingers are, and then you make wider and wider until you want to fit your grip and get the perfect one you want. What it does is really give you more control over your pencil and all your strokes and everything. So I realized that tattoo artists do it a lot, because I was wondering why they were doing that, because they buy like fat grips and it really does give you way more control. I learned from a bunch of YouTubers that do it. I decided to try it out, and this isn't the best pencil that you can use, but I tried it out on this pencil anyways, and it really does make a difference, and I highly suggest it. Quick tip, general rule of thumb, when you're doing realism, you don't really want to go for harsh lines. So like say all the under eye, I guess you would say. I don't really know the anatomy of the eye, but the under part of your eye isn't a solid line. There's usually like a white tear duct, I guess you would say, like a white line going across. So what I usually do is just shade that part. I don't usually go in with a line because, like I said, in realism there isn't harsh lines. So if you want more realistic drawings and you're going for that, then just shade as I do. Yeah, unless you're going for like eyelashes or anything, you don't want to do that because it's gonna make it look artificial, and you want everything to blend into the paper, not pop out like it does. So let's go back and show you what I mean, and let's do it. So a little tip when you're doing this, hold the pencil back as far as you can in order to get clean, even strokes. If not, you'll mess up and end up getting uneven strokes, and when you go to blend, it won't turn out too good. So I'm starting with the dark, and you can see when I'm blending it out, I go on the side of the paper and clean it off. Because if you go into the light with dark all the way on it, you're not gonna get the easy like light strokes. So I go in, and when you do this, go the opposite way of the strokes you already did. So you can see me going horizontal. And then I'll just go back in the middle and blend it out to get that good gradient. So you can see me going in with the white charcoal pencil, and it works really well over already done dark charcoal. So I go in and add a couple strokes, and then I go in and blend it out with a blending stump, and it works out really smooth. It kind of turns gray. That's why I kind of go back in later on with the white pencil. I'm just showing y'all how I do this and how well white charcoal works on dark. So I never really relied on white charcoal. I never really knew it was a thing until I saw videos over it, and can I just say it really changes everything you do with charcoal for like the whites of the eyes. I usually use white paper for all the whites in the drawing, so I don't have to go back in and add them, but right now I'm using tone gray paper, so you don't really get that white effect. So I go in with white charcoal, and this I'm using Derwent tinted charcoal. It really does make a difference. That's why I go in, I add all the dark shades first, because if you shade dark first and then you try to go in for all the lights, it makes all muddy and messy, and you don't want that. So I do the lights first and then I go into the darks, but then after I'm done with everything, I'll go in with the white charcoal, add all the whites to the eyes, all the highlights and everything. So let's get back into it, and I'll show you some tips and tricks about highlights and skin and everything. This was just a little quick video to show you all my blending process and shades and everything that I do. For the first video, I think it's pretty good. So stay tuned for more videos, like and subscribe and all that good mess, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.